Welcome back to my Writer's Room, everyone. I am Matt Wallace, YouTube's resident angry writer, and thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to come hang out with me here in my angry, lonely little writerly sanctum. I always appreciate that. I really do. Me not being naked on the vlog is brought to you, as always, by our t-shirt of the day, and I'm very excited to unveil my second new The Last Jedi t-shirt. Rocking out in sexy, sexy devil red. This is my wife's favorite one of my wife's favorite of the Last Jedi t-shirts I bought. I think she likes me in red. I have this red pair of boxer briefs. It really drives her wild. So do what you want with that image, man. But no, I like this one. It's got kind of that like targeting computer feel to it. It actually says the last Jedi on it, which the one I had on the vlog yesterday does not. So. Digging it, styling it, proving you can be a person of size and rock fairly bright primary colors. I'm living proof. Use me as an example. Use me to set the trends. That's what I always say. It is February 13th, 2018. It is Tuesday. You're committed now. You've come too far to go back in terms of the week, so you might as well stick it out at this point. I've drawn a movie poster of Animal Farm starring Hamshackle Pig. That's Orwell's Animal Farm, and for some reason it's starring Hamshackle Pig. I don't know why I drew this. I think there was the beginning of a joke there, and then I got busy and forgot to come up with the actual joke. So what we're left with is a completely contextless or without context illustration of Hamshackle starring in an adaptation of Orwell's Animal Farm. So that's a thing that's happening in the title card today, and I apologize for not actually following through with an actual joke for you. You deserve better. I acknowledge that freely, and I apologize. So yeah, February 13th is a significant date. It's the day before everyone's least favorite made-up bullshit greeting card holiday, and forced romance day, as I've come to know it. And I can say that because I'm fortunate to be married to a person who agrees with me that Valentine's Day is a bunch of bullshit. My wife and I have I like the tradition that my wife and I have. We tend to give each other crappy little joke gifts for Valentine's Day, and then we just move on with our lives because, again, it's not real. It's a made-up bullshit greeting card holiday. I usually get her socks. That started, I think, like the first year we were dating. I got her a teddy bear who we named Wolfgang the Barrelizer, and he came with a little heart-shaped pouch, and in the pouch, and I didn't even know this when I bought the bear, there was a pair of these little Valentine's Day socks in them. So it was an inadvertent gift the first year with these little socks. She detached the pouch because she didn't like that his hands were bound up. She still has Wolfgang. I never got her another stuffed animal because she hates that kind of crap. I did it mostly as a joke. I think it was a joke. Honestly, it might have been before I realized how much she genuinely loathes anything that could be considered like tchotchke or extraneous decoration. But she kept that. I got her that, and I got her a Kermit the Frog, like a legit Kermit the Frog. And she kept those two things. She has them in her closet with her Boo doll from Monsters, Inc. that she's had forever. And we call Wolfgang and Kermit Boo's dads. And then that's the extent of her stuffed animal collection. That's what the vlog has evolved to, is me describing my wife's stuffed animal collection to you. Anyway, so that's how the sock tradition starts. I also just find it very sexy when she wears the little socks. I don't know. I have strange proclivities, and I'll acknowledge that. So yeah, Valentine's Day is a bunch of bullshit, but you make of it what you will. And then the truth is, if you keep it in reason, if you don't let culture and media dictate your relationship practices, there's never a bad excuse to spend time together with your significant other. So just, be you. That's my Valentine's Day. You didn't ask for it, and that's not what this vlog is about, but that's my Valentine's Day advice to everybody, is be you on Valentine's Day. It's the best thing to be. So yeah, day before Valentine's Day. It's also Mardi Gras, which is horrible, absolutely horrible. Here's the thing. I love New Orleans. It's one of my, if not my favorite cities in America, one of my favorite places in the world to visit. Especially for America, because it's one of the few major American cities that still looks different. It doesn't look like everything else. It's an amazing place and I love everything about it. I love the music, the food, the culture, the resilience, everything about New Orleans. I hate Mardi Gras. I hate it. I hate Mardi Gras, and I hate Bourbon Street. and I refuse to participate in either. I love staying in the French Quarter. You just have to learn how to avoid Bourbon Street at all costs, because it's disgusting, and it's filled with disgusting people. It just really is. It's just a congregation of drunken bros, drunken broing all over everything, and I refuse to be a part of it. So I am not a fan of Mardi Gras. However, this year it did yield an unexpected benefit for me personally. So the good folks over at the Barnes & Noble Science Fiction and Fantasy blog, who have long been a supporter of my books, of my Sin du Jour series, and me as an author, and I appreciate that, they put out a list today of, I believe it was 6 fantasy novels with characters who could throw a party that would give Mardi Gras a run for its money. That was the post that they did today. And the Sin du Jour series made the list, obviously, which is a very unique list to be on. I had never seen that one done before. So kudos to the SFF blog for upping the listicle game and taking it to a new level. But yeah, it was like me and Scott Lynch, which is great because Scott Lynch and I share the same agent. So anytime we can get Team Dong 1 stacking a list, I'm happy for it. Then it was like, I believe, all like Tolkien and George R. R. Martin. It was like the Hobbits and the Freys from Game of Thrones, and a bunch of stuff like that, which I guess makes sense in context. But so that was the list that I was on this afternoon, and it was a cool little list. It's always nice to be included in things like that. It's nice little promotion. Makes you feel good. Makes you feel your stuff is actually being read by somebody, and somebody gives a crap. When that's always a nice feeling. But it got me thinking about, invariably, you start thinking about all the lists that you were not on. Like I made one Best of the Year list from 2017, and that was, I believe, on Nerds of a Feather, the Hugo-nominated fanzine. I love Nerds of a Feather, and I was very happy to make that list, but that was the only list that I was on. And the thing is, these are not things you talk about publicly, but they are things that sting when you are an author or any kind of creator putting stuff out there into the mainstream of whatever it is you do, and then the year-end roundup comes on and you find that your work didn't merit getting on those lists. Now, empirically, that means nothing. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you make the fucking year-end lists. It has nothing to do with anything practical. What it really comes down to is ego. It's all about ego. We're talking about author ego, so that's what I thought I would address on today's vlog. I'm going to make this vlog about being an author and dealing with your ego as an author. And this is probably cross-applicable to any kind of creator, but being an author and a writer myself, that's what I'm going to focus on. So it comes to this, folks, if you are an author of books being published, especially in a niche or a genre like SFF, science fiction fantasy, it comes to this. Your ego can be your best friend or it can be your worst enemy. Ego, contrary to popular belief, is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have an ego and to let that factor into your standard operating procedure every day. You always hear bad things about ego. You hear you have to be humble. You have to not court jealousy or envy. You have to not be a braggart or a blowhard or take yourself too seriously. And those are all fair points. But I think they all misunderstand what ego is at a base level. Ego is not a bad thing until it becomes a bad thing. And I really think it comes down to how we feed our egos. I believe that you need your ego, you need a healthy ego, and you need to feed it the appropriate amount to keep it healthy. You cannot underfeed or overfeed it. That's where you get into trouble. That's when your ego turns on you, At this end of the spectrum, when you overfeed it, it's like Gremlins or Alien Nation. It like morphs into this monstrous thing that knows only destruction and can be only detrimental to you and everyone around you. At this end of the spectrum, where you starve your ego, it starts to really seriously affect your self-confidence, your self-esteem, your self-motivation, be your ability to self-start. Like, it starts to bleed into all kinds of shit that you don't associate with ego because we talk about ego so negatively most of the time. There are authors who make it all about the work, and that's great. That's a great thing. I also believe there are authors who have the privilege to make it all about the work. There are authors who write books that, and I'm not discounting the fact that they are good works, But there are lots of good works out there that either don't become successful or never get bought or never get read. Like, quality is not any kind of metric for success in this business. It's really not. You can almost discount it entirely. It's great to see good books get recognized, and I feel like we are seeing that more in the field these days. That I will say. But just like any other form of popular media, success is not a metric for quality. But there are people whose work is widely purchased and has generally been widely purchased for a long time. And they have come to a place where they can afford to just focus on the work itself. They don't have to be on social media shaking their ass for tips. They don't have to hit the con circuit or the blog tours online, or they don't have to do any of that stuff or participate in any of the communities or in any of the crap that the rest of us do just to try to get people to be aware that we wrote this thing and that it's out there in the sphere to be purchased or to be signal boosted or any of those things. So if you have the privilege to just focus on the work, that's fantastic. It should be all about the work. It genuinely should be. But that's not the world we live in. That's not the industry in which we operate. The industry in which we operate, usually you have to be out there doing for yourself, raising awareness, and shaking your ass to a fair extent. And to do that, a reasonable amount of ego is absolutely necessary, because you have to believe that your work and you are worth it. You're worth the attention. You deserve the attention. You deserve it more than other people that they could be paying attention to when they're paying attention to you. You have to have a little bit of that in the back of your head. Again, you can't overfeed it. You can't go to that place where it's, hey, it's all about me. Screw everybody else. I want all eyes on me all the time. I am so freaking brilliant. I deserve it. That's not the place you want to go to. But you need to have just like a healthy little smattering there, to start to be able to spark that fire of, I will go forth and I will tell people I have done a thing and this thing is worthy. Just on a base level, I think ego is a huge part of that. It's a huge part of self-starting and giving yourself the fuel to go out there and say, what I do is valid and is worth attention. You have to have that. You have to have that component. Now, the downside of that, of course, is once you put yourself out there like that, once you open the box and let your ego peek out and to see that world, you open yourself up to all kinds of damage and hits to your ego once you expose that to the outside world. That's where things like awards and lists and deal announcements for other authors and your own sales numbers and all these things can start to feel really, really harsh and can start to have teeth because your ego has been exposed to them. And you have to realize that that's what's happening when you get into those situations. That's where you start to unconsciously edge into that bad place, into that bad end of the spectrum, when not making the lists feels like a defeat, Like, I didn't make any of the end of the year lists, I've been defeated as an author. When you start thinking like that, that's your ego saying that. That's not you. You are smarter and more rational than that. I believe that about you. If you were able to write and finish and publish a novel in this genre, I believe you are smarter and better than taking something as completely subjective and completely ego-driven as best of end of the year list as anything more than just fodder for public consumption and publicity and ego. That's all it is. But it gets hard, man. Once you let the monster out of the box, as they say, it gets hard to control those things. It's hard to control how those things make you feel and how you internalize them. What you can always control, though, and I will state this emphatically, and this is probably the most important point to be made here, is you can always control how you act. When you get to a place where you are acting on your ego in a negative way, you need to check yourself immediately and take a step back, all right? Because that's where you get into a really dangerous place for yourself, your career, your brand, everyone, your peers, your friends, and the genre as a whole. That's where you really start contributing to that toxicity level in the environment around you. And that's not something you ever want to do. We have enough of that. We deal with enough toxicity in every quarter of our lives. You don't need to put more out there when you're an inherently good person just because you find yourself going on an ego trip. What I will say to you, and I hope you take this to heart, is it's okay for your ego to get bruised. It's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a selfish person. It doesn't make you a self-absorbed person. As I said, A good, reasonable amount of ego is necessary. And that also necessitates you letting your ego out there in the world. And when you expose your ego to the environment, you know, the environment can be very harsh. Sometimes your ego is going to get a little frostbitten. And that's okay. It's okay to feel that. It's okay to internalize that. It's okay to have days where you can't even sign into Twitter because you're just so disgusted with hearing everybody else's good news and how you perceive everybody else's lives to be so much better than yours when you just feel like you're not accomplishing anything. It's okay to have those days. Again, all you can really control is how you act externally. Internally, it's okay to feel all those things and for them to exist there. And once you realize that that's okay for you to feel that, that gives you a mechanism, I believe, to start dealing with it. To take an objective step back and say, okay, I gave myself, an afternoon or a day or whatever it is to just let myself feel shitty. And in that way, I will serve that wound that my ego suffered. That'll be the bomb that I put on it. Is that time that I allowed myself to feel shitty about it. Now it's time to get over it. Now it's time to actually heal and to go out there and do what I know I should be doing and perceive the world as it is and not as my ego is shading it for me. That's the important part. After you internalize it and realize it's okay to allow yourself to feel that way, you have to overcome those feelings because they're false. 99.9% of the time, they're false. Things are going better than you think you are. Things are going better than you think you are. Things are going better for you than you think they are. Things are not going nearly as well for everybody else as you think they are either. You know, the whole grass is greener thing, that always tends to hold true. And even if they are, it has nothing to do with you. Other people and their trip has nothing to do with you. You've got to focus on your trip and your journey and what you're doing. That should be a healthy part of letting your ego out there. Your ego should guide you in that way. It should guide you towards the things that are going to fulfill you and make you happy and to help you attain the things that you want and you need and you deserve. That's the bus you want your ego driving, and that's the path you want to be on. Ignore the forest and the trees and all that stuff. I'm starting to mix metaphors a little bit, and I apologize, but I think you get the point. So that's ego. I hope when I edit this all together, it makes some kind of sense. But that's what I wanted to talk about today. For all of you aspiring or working writers out there, or anybody who aspires or is any kind of creator, again, I think this all kind of applies in the same way. So just like I said, don't underfeed your ego, don't overfeed your ego. Realize it's okay to internalize all that stuff, but also realize you need to get over it. And remember, you are in control of how you act externally, and you should never act on your ego when it goes to the bad place. It's not a good thing to do. So those are the bullet points, and I hope you find that useful in your journey on the bus ride with your ego driving the bus. I see like a little gold circle with a little bus driver's cap. I don't know what you see when I say that, but I'm enjoying the visual. It's sort of like Pac-Man in a bus driver's cap, sitting behind the bus with white gloves, and that's how I view ego driving a bus. None of this relates to anything. It's just that's just me. That's how I get through these things. That's it for today. Thank you for your kind attention. I hope you found it worthwhile. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this episode of the vlog, what you're thinking of the channel. Ask me a question, suggest a topic for me to talk about. I just like hearing from you. Please like, share, subscribe. Did I say that already? Well, please do. Either way. I'll be back with you for the whole rest of the week here on my Writer's Room vlog here on the Angry Writer channel. Until then, I'm Matt Wallace. I'll see y'all tomorrow.